Hello, welcome to Longshot Larry Sports Astrology. Today we're looking at the semi-finals in the 2022 FIFA World Cup. We're going to look at Argentina, Croatia first, then France versus Morocco, and we're also going to have a quick look at the solar eclipse from 23rd of October. If you missed our first video, I'll put a link up here about the lunar eclipses, and you can check that out. So this is the solar eclipse from 25th of October. You can see that the eclipse was conjunct Venus, so this is a pretty benign eclipse. If you get trines from this eclipse, that's very positive. General rule is eclipse conjunct your sun blocks the light from your sun, so it's not helpful. So this eclipse is set for Croatia, and you can see the eclipse is relatively close to the MC, within 2 degrees. If I line up this solar eclipse with the chart for Croatia, the country, you can see the eclipse is trine the Croatian sun. That's very helpful, and I'd say that's another reason why Croatia are having such a good tournament to date. Looking at the coach for Croatia, Dalic, the eclipse is very closely conjunct his Scorpio sun, close to the MC at the time of the eclipse. As I said, that can mean that your sun is eclipsed at some stage. However, Croatia have been doing very well. Look at eclipse set for the capital Buenos Aires in Argentina. Not much happening with the angles there, but if you look at Lionel Messi, you can see this eclipse is trine his Cancerian sun quite closely, within a degree. That's very positive for Lionel Messi, so he needs to be playing for Argentina in my opinion. Looking at the game chart now for Argentina versus Croatia. Argentina are the favourites, so they're going to be represented by the Ascendant, which is Virgo, and the MC Gemini, which is both ruled by Mercury down here in Capricorn. And Croatia are the underdogs, so they're going to be Pisces and Sagittarius, and its ruling planet Jupiter. I couldn't see anything happening from the falling method based on this chart. If we look at the Antisca positions, the only thing I can really see happening is that the moon is going to conjoin the Antisca of the part of fortune in 3 degrees, so that's during game time, so that's one for the favourites Argentina. You can see that Saturn is applying 6 degrees away from an opposition to the Antisca of the part of fortune. That's probably too far. That would be one for Croatia, but I think 6 degrees is probably a bit too far for that. If we look at how the coaches line up here, the coach for Argentina, Scaloni, you'll see that Scaloni is a Taurus. Natally, he has his sun square Saturn over here, but also Venus, which rules his Taurian sun, is pretty closely sextile to Saturn. And the moon during this game is going to start off sextile his Venus and end up conjunct Saturn. I think that's probably a positive for Scaloni. If it was past Saturn and going on to square his sun, that would probably be a negative, but in this case I think that is a very slight positive for Scaloni. The Croatian coach Dalic, it's very interesting. We don't have a time for his chart, but you can see that Jupiter is somewhere around his moon. Now if his moon is close to this degree, Jupiter just does end up on the descendant at the end of regulation time. That would be a positive for Dalic, but we don't know because I don't have a timed chart for Dalic. So the only thing I can see from the falling method here is a slight indication that the favourites Argentina will win. I've talked about those solar eclipses for Argentina and probably stronger for Croatia, which is quite interesting, but overall very slight edge to Argentina in this one. Looking at France versus Morocco now. Very interested to see if there's anything lining up with Morocco, considering they've had such an amazing tournament. So I'm going to look at this lunar eclipse. If you are interested in, I talked about this in the other teams, I'll put the link up here. So this is the lunar eclipse for 8th of November. Just to refresh your memory, the sun was conjunct Mercury, opposite the moon and Uranus, wide square to Saturn. If we line this up with the country Morocco, you can see that the eclipse, moon and Uranus are exactly conjunct the MC for the country Morocco. That's why there's wild celebration. And Venus was on the descendant at the time of this eclipse for the country. Now, normally you wouldn't say that is particularly good. The eclipse on your MC, which represents recognition and achievement in a country's chart. But the MC is trine the moon natally, and the moon represents the public. So this eclipse is triggering the moon, which is a public. Trine the MC. Uranus is excitement. So that's what I would put it down to, this massive excitement going on in Morocco at the moment. So this is a game chart for the semi-final, France versus Morocco. So France are the favourites, so they're going to be Mercury once again, and Venus rules the part of fortune here. Morocco are the underdogs, so they're going to be represented by the ruler of Pisces and Sagittarius, which is Jupiter. So from the Frawley method, you can see the moon is in the first house, just within that 2 to 3 degree area. That's one for the favourites. Also see Uranus is nearly exactly conjunct the part of fortune, applying 14 minutes. Frawley mentions that is another one for the favourites. So we've got a couple of indications for France here. The moon will form an exact trine to Venus during the game. So that's a benefit for probably Librans and Taurians in general. But Venus in this chart here rules the part of fortune. So that's one indication for France. You will see that the moon will trine Mercury in 6 degrees. So under the Frawley method, that would indicate extra time if it goes that far. And Mercury rules the ascendant, which is the favourites France. Another one for France here. So this is pointing to France to win based on the Frawley method. If we look at how the French coach lines up, and we do have a time chart for the French coach, you can see that the Sun here, which is just past a square to Neptune at the start of this game, 5 minutes away. It's just moved into his 10th house here. It's just past the sextile to his Sun and Mercury, and just past a trine to Saturn. It seems quite prominent in his chart there. He is a Libran, so he may benefit from the moon exactly trine Venus during the game. Looking at the Morocco coach, you'll see he's a Virgo, and he's had Jupiter is applying to an opposition to his Sun. Jupiter opposing his Sun is probably the best of the oppositions, so oppositions generally aren't great. You'll see the Sun is in an important position for him, so it is applying to a sextile to his Mercury, which rules his Virgo Sun. It's applying to a trine to his Venus. It's past the opposition to his Mars, and just past a trine to Jupiter. So he has this pattern: Jupiter sextile Mars and Venus, and also Mercury. And Jupiter is the leading planet in what we call a locomotive pattern. So it's in Aries here. You can see it has this big space here. If the Sun was a little bit earlier and applying to a trine to that Jupiter, I would like that better. But he has some interesting aspects going on there. In summary for this game, that the Frawley method is quite strong for France. I think that moon trine Venus is interesting, maybe a slight positive for the French coach there, but overall that Frawley method does seem the strongest here, so leaning towards France. So who do you think's going to win? Put your ideas in the comments under the video. Thanks for watching, and please like, subscribe, and we'll see you for the final.